Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Nurul Natasha and today I will be presenting on context of English language use, situational and cultural perspectives. This presentation is part of our language awareness coursework, and my aim is to show how context is not just background information. It is the very element that makes language meaningful. When we talk about English, we often focus on grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation. But today, I want to emphasize that without context, even the most correct grammar can lead to misunderstanding. A single word can carry completely different meanings depending on the situation or the culture. Throughout this session, we will explore two main types of context, situational and cultural. I will also be showing you examples from real movies to make these ideas come alive. And finally, we'll think about how to apply this to our future role as teachers. So, let's begin with what we want to achieve today. Here are the objectives that will guide our session today. First, by the end of this presentation, you should be able to define what we mean by situational context and cultural context. These are the two lenses through which we will study how English is used in different circumstances. Second, you will be able to identify examples of both contexts, not only from daily life, but also through scenes from films like The Devil Wears Prada, Outsource, and Rush Hour 3. Using movies make it easier to see how context shapes meanings. Third, we will compare situational and cultural contexts because while they sound similar, they operate in very different ways. Situational context is about the here and now, the immediate setting and the relationship. Cultural context, on the other hand, is about shared values and traditions across groups. Finally, we'll think about how we can apply this knowledge in our classrooms. As future teachers, it is not enough to teach just about grammar and vocabulary. We need to prepare our students to communicate effectively across different situations and cultures. So, these are the four main objectives: define, identify, compare, and apply. Each section of the presentation is designed to move us closer to these goals. Context in discourse analysis. Context must be considered when studying discourse analysis. According to George Yule, context is the physical environment in which a word is used. A common aspect of context is the environment in which a discourse occurs. Context refers to the setting where communication takes place. It helps establish meaning and influences what is said and how it is said. Situational context or context of situation refers to the environment, time, and place of the discourse, the relationship between participants. It is one type of context that shapes communication and involves appropriate behavior and actions for a given situation by representing the immediate physical situation where interaction happens. For example, people talking on the phone and making gestures with the hand or face. If the hearer cannot see the gestures, the meaning is not conveyed. Directions like go right or take left while pointing. Gestures only work when participants share the situational context. Communication style changes depending on the setting. You will not speak the same way at a funeral as at a wedding. Factors influencing situational context. First, setting or place, like home, school, playground, theater, activity, for example, lecture, discussion, and environment, for example, materials, lighting, or noise. In a classroom, a lecturer creates an imaginary situation to write a story about a bank robbery. The setting is the classroom, the activity is the writing, and the environment is the materials and number of people present. Next, situational context becomes very clear when we look at examples. Let's imagine three situations. First, when you are speaking to your boss or lecturer, you might say, "Good morning, sir. The report is ready for review." Here, the vocabulary is formal, the tone is polite, and even your body language may be standing upright, making less eye contact, and reflects respect. Now, the same person talking to a close friend might say, "Hey bro, I finished that thing we talked about." The tone is relaxed, the words are simpler, and body language is open and casual. Finally, think about how we communicate online, especially on social media. Instead of full sentences, you might write, "LOL, that was crazy." Here, we use abbreviations, emojis, and humor because the medium and the audience expect informality. So, what do these three examples tell us? They show that the same speaker using the same language makes different choices depending on the situation, the place, the purpose, and the relationship with the listener shape how language is delivered. This is important because it shows that being fluent in English is not just about knowing vocabulary or grammar. It is about being able to adapt to the context so that your message is received the way you intend. If you use informal slang with your boss, it might seem rude. If you use overly formal English with a friend, it might feel distant or strange. That is why situational context is a skill. It helps us adjust our language appropriately to match each situation. Movies often show situational context in a way that is easy to recognize. One excellent example comes from The Devil Wears Prada.
You got a job at a fashion magazine?
Mm-hmm.
Or what was it, a phone interview?
Wow. Okay, sure.
Miranda Priestley is famous for being unpredictable.
Okay, Doug, how is it that you know who she is and I didn't?
I'm actually a girl.
Oh, that would explain so much.
Look, seriously, Miranda Priestley is a huge deal. I bet a million girls would kill for that job.
Yeah, great. The thing is, I'm not one of them.
Well, look, you gotta start somewhere, right? I mean, look at this dump Nate works in. I mean, come on. Paper napkins? Hello?
Yeah, and Lily, she works at that gallery doing, Oh, I'm sorry. What exactly is it that you do, anyway?
Lucky for me, I already have my dream job.
You're your corporate research analyst.
Oh, you're right, my job sucks. It sucks. It's boring.
All right, breathe.
Not trying.
There, take a drink.
I won't have a drink. I will.
Squeeze it and see how firm that is.
Oh, I'm so sorry I'm late. Oh, there's a crisis in the accessories department. I needed to find a Python headband.
Python's hot right now.
I have exciting presents for all of you. Are you ready?
What is that?
It's a Bang & Olufsen phone. Charlie Rose sent it to Miranda for her birthday. I looked it up online. It's $1,100.
What?
Wow.
And I have some products, Mason Pearson hairbrushes, a little Clinique.
Oh, damn it. I love your job.
Oh, one more. Little thing. Do you want it?
Gimme!
You want? Oh,
Gimme!
I think she likes it.
Oh my God! This is new Marc Jacobs! This is sold out everywhere. Where did you get this?
Miranda didn't want it, so.
Oh, no. This bag is at $1,900. I cannot take this from you.
You can.
Why do women need so many bags?
Shut up.
You have one, you put all your junk in it, and that's it, you're done.
Fashion is not about utility. An accessory is merely a piece of iconography used to express individual identity.
And it's pretty.
That too.
Yeah, but the thing is, it turns out that there is more to runway than just fancy purses. Look, here's an essay by Jay McInerney, a piece by Joan Didion, even an interview with Christiane Amanpour.
Looks like someone's been drinking the Kool-Aid.
What are you?
Who are you?
My name is Andy Sachs. I recently graduated from Northwestern University.
And what are you doing here?
Well, I think I could do a good job as your assistant. And, I came to New York to be a journalist and sent letters out everywhere and then finally got a call from Elias Clark and met with Sherry up at Human Resources. And basically it's this or Auto Universe.
So you don't read runway?
No.
And before today, you had never heard of me?
No.
And you have no style or sense of fashion?
Well, I think that depends on what you're...
No, that wasn't a question.
I was editor-in-chief of the Daily Northwestern. I also won a national competition for college journalists with my series on the Janitors Union, which exposed the exploitation of... Yeah, okay. You're right. I don't fit in here. I am not skinny or glamorous, and I don't know that much about fashion, but I'm smart. I learn fast, and I will work very hard.
I've got the exclusive on the Cavalli for Gwyneth. But the problem is, with that huge feathered headdress that she's wearing, she looks like she's working the main stage of the book.
Oh.
Paris is the most important week of my entire year. I need the best possible team with me. That no longer includes Emily.
Wait, you want me to... No. Miranda, Emily would die. Her whole life is about Paris. She hasn't eaten in weeks. I can't do that, Miranda. I can't.
If you don't go, I'll assume you're not serious about your future at Runway or any other publication.
The main character, Annie Sage, communicates very differently depending on who she's speaking to. When Andy is with her friends, she is casual and relaxed. She uses informal vocabulary, sometimes even slang. Her tone is playful and her body language is open. Because the relationship is equal, she doesn't need to show special respect. But when she is with her boss, Miranda Priestley, everything changes. She becomes cautious, her words are more formal and professional, and her tone is respectful. She avoids slang and keeps her body language restrained. Why? Because Miranda holds power in that situation, and this language has to adapt to show respect and maintain professionalism. This contrast between Andy's conversation with her friends and with her boss perfectly illustrates situational context. It is not about Andy's English skill changing. It is about her language choices adapting to the relationship and setting. In examples, let's summarize the main features of situational context. First, there is formality level. The way we speak in a job interview is very different from the way we speak at cafe. One is formal and structured, and the other is relaxed and spontaneous. Second, politeness markers. These are words and phrases like please, may I, excuse me sir, and thank you. We use them much more in formal situations than when joking around with friends. Third, vocabulary choice. Notice how you choose technical or academic words with lectures, but you switch to slang or shorthand with close friends. For example, with a lecturer, you might say, I require clarification on this point. But with a friend, you would just say, I don't get it. Same idea, but different vocabulary. And finally, non-verbal cues. Communication is not only about words. It is about tone of voice, posture, eye contact, and gestures also shift. For example, standing up straight with limited gestures shows respect in a formal setting, while leaning back, smiling, and joking show comfort in an informal one. Now, let's move to our second type of context, cultural context. Cultural context is shaped by the traditions, values, and norms of a society. It tells us what is polite, what is rude, what shows respect, and even what emotions are acceptable to display. Unlike situational context, which changes from moment to moment, cultural context is much deeper. It comes from history, religion, family values, and social tradition. For example, think about greetings. In America, people usually shake hands and say, "Hi, how are you?" But in Japan, people bow and say, "Arigatou gozaimasu." In India, people press their palms together and say namaste. All of these express respect, but they do so in very different ways. Cultural context doesn't just affect words, it also affects behavior. In some cultures, making strong eye contact shows confidence. In others, it may seem as aggressive or disrespectful. Similarly, silence in conversation may feel awkward in some cultures, but in others, silence shows thoughtfulness and respect. Culture provides the rule of communication beyond the immediate situation. If you only know the language but not the culture, you might use the right words but still send the wrong message. Let's look at some specific examples of how cultural context influences communication styles across countries. Starting with Japan, in Japanese culture, honorifics like san or sama are almost always attached to names. For instance, you don't just say Tanaka, you say Tanaka-san. This shows respect and social distance. Also, Japanese speakers often use indirect speech. Instead of saying, "No, I disagree," they might say, maybe we can think of another way. This is to avoid direct confrontation and keeps harmony in the group. Now, compare this with the United States of America. American culture values equality and openness, so speech tends to be direct. People often use a casual tone and call others by their first name, even their teachers or bosses. For example, a student might say, "Hey John, I didn't get the assignments." In many other cultures, that would sound disrespectful, but in the US, it shows friendliness and approachability. Moving to China and Korea, here communication is strongly influenced by hierarchy. Bowing is a common greeting, and age or seniority determines the level of respect. For example, younger people are expected to defer to elders, both in language and in body language. Titles and respectful terms are very essential. Authority figures are rarely addressed by their first name, but instead their role or title is emphasized. Finally, in many Western cultures in general, eye contact and a firm handshake are important. Looking someone in the eyes signals confidence, honesty, and respect. A handshake symbolizes equality, two people meeting on the same level. This is very different from cultures where avoiding eye contact is a form of politeness.
Mention.
Let me make a toast.
He shouldn't have had that
Here's
second
to-
glass when everyone else had had only half an inch just for taste.
Shrimp. My favorite.
He should have taken only a small spoonful of the best dish until everyone had had a helping.
He has good appetite.
He shouldn't have bragged he was a fast learner. But the worst was when Rich criticized my mother's cooking, and he didn't even know what he had done. As is the Chinese cook's custom, my mother always insults her own cooking, but only with the dishes she serves with special pride.
This dish not salty enough. No flavor. It's too bad to eat. But please.
That was our cue to eat some and proclaim it the best she'd ever made.
You know, Linda, all this needs is a little soy sauce.
Okay, what else? Yes, man meat.
I do not understand item H403.
H403. A lot of Americans wear these to sporting events.
But why, sir?
It's hard to explain. We just do. Yes.
I don't understand the purpose of A221.
A221. That's a burger brand. Americans eat a lot of beef, and some people like to burn their initials into their food with a red-hot iron before they eat it.
Why?
It's like a cattle brand. You know, the thing you use to burn a symbol into a cow with? No, in America, that's how you keep track of your cow, is branding.
With a red-hot iron?
Yeah.
But wouldn't the cow run away?
Oh, no, we only do it to baby cows. When they're small enough to hold them down. Yes, Asha?
A suggestion, Mr. Todd.
Go ahead.
You need to learn about India.
Clip 1, we see a common cultural customs. The host and his mother criticizes her on cooking, saying things like, "The dish is not salty enough, no flavor, too bad to eat, but please." At first, that sounds negative, but in Chinese tradition, it is actually a polite signal, a cue for the guests to eat and then compliment the food. The ritual shows humility on the part of the host and respect from the guests. The misunderstanding arises when Rich, the outsider, doesn't understand this cultural script. Instead of joining in the ritual, he literally criticizes the food by saying, "All this needs is a little soy sauce." In Chinese culture, that's insulting because he broke the unspoken rule. This clip shows how cultural rituals are not just about words. They are about shared expectation. If you don't know the cultural rule book, you can easily cause offense without meaning to. In this clip too, it is seen we see American manager Todd trying to explain US customs like branding cows or even beef to his Indian colleagues. The Indian responds with confusion. But why? Or wouldn't the cow run away? The humor comes from the literal interpretation of something that Americans see as normal, but outsiders find strange. For example, branding cattle with a hot iron is familiar in the US, but in India, where cows are sacred, the practice sounds cruel and incomprehensible. At the end, Asha tells Todd, "You need to learn about India." This is a reversal. The outsider realizes that cultural awareness is not one-sided. It's not just about explaining your culture, but also understanding the host culture. Cultural context can be broken down into two main features: social norms and expectations, and cultural practices. First, social norms and expectations. These are the unspoken rules that govern how people interact. Customs, tradition, roles, and hierarchy are all part of this. For example, in many Asian cultures, age and social status strongly influence language use. A younger person must speak more politely to an elder or a superior. In contrast, Western cultures often emphasize equality. It is normal to call even your boss by their first name. These norms shape how respectful or casual communication feels in a given society. Second, cultural practices. These are the visible expressions of culture: holidays, food, clothing, and rituals. For example, the Lunar New Year in China is celebrated with red decoration, family gatherings, and traditional dishes, each symbol carrying a shared meaning. Even small everyday acts like taking off shoes before entering a home or using both hands to give a gift reflect the cultural value of respect. Politeness is not just about words, but also about actions that carry cultural meaning. On the left, we have situational context. This depends on the immediate setting, where you are, who you are talking to, and what the purpose of communication is. For example, you change your language when speaking to your best friend versus your lecturer. It is about short-term adjustments like tone, vocabulary, or politeness based on the situation. On the right, we have cultural context. This is much deeper. It comes from shared traditions, values, and norms that shape communication across an entire society. For instance, using honorifics in Japanese or bowings in Korean culture are not just situational choices. They are cultural expectations that exist in every interaction. Cultural context is long-term, embedded in history, and affects how people interpret politeness, respect, and even humor. But in the middle, there is overlap. Both situational and cultural context influence the way messages are delivered and received. Both affect not just the words we choose, but also tone, gestures, and body language. Let's focus on why context is so important in communication. First, context minimizes misunderstandings. Without context, words can easily be misinterpreted. For example, if someone says we should meet soon, does that mean tomorrow, next week, or never? The situation and cultural background help clarify the meaning. By aligning language with the right context, we prevent confusion, conflicts, and even misinterpretation. Second, context reveals implicit meaning. Communication is not only about the literal words spoken, it is also about the tone of voice we choose, the gestures, and shared cultural knowledge. For instance, when someone says, "That's interesting," in a sarcastic tone, the context tells us that they probably don't mean it positively. Context helps us catch these hidden messages that words alone can't express. Third, context fosters human connection. Understanding context builds empathy and cultural sensitivity. It allows us to adapt when speaking to people from different backgrounds, making our interactions smoother and more respectful. Let's consider the implication for English language learning and teaching and how this connects to our course outcome. First, communication. As future teachers or learners of English, we need to train students to use the right register and style in different situations. This means being able to switch between formal and informal speech, or between local and global contexts. For example, a student may write a formal essay for class, but use casual English when chatting online. Developing this skill improves clarity, not just in the classroom, but also in professional and social life. Second, creativity. Teaching context allows us to make lessons more engaging. We can use films, role plays, and cross-cultural scenarios to let students experience language in action. For example, reenacting a dinner scene from the Joy Luck Club or a workplace conversation from outsource helps students to see how culture influences communication. This stimulates creativity, making language learning feel authentic and lively rather than mechanical. And third, critical thinking. Context encourages students to think deeper about language. They learn to analyze how the same words can mean different things in different contexts. They can compare varieties of English across culture. For example, American directness versus Japanese indirectness. Students can also reflect on cases of miscommunication and discuss how to resolve them. This builds critical awareness, which is essential for both academic growth and real-world communication. In conclusion, both situational and cultural contexts are essential in shaping how we communicate. Situational context teaches us to adapt our language depending on the setting, while cultural context remind us that traditions, values, and norms influence meaning beyond words. That's all from me. Thank you.